Welcome to Jets Rewind. I'm Marty Schupak in Valley Cottage, New York. Ralph Schrager is down in Sarasota, Florida, and Ray Clifford, who's clearing his throat, is in Marysville, Ohio. How you guys doing on this? I guess it's Thursday. We're recording this January 5th at 5 o'clock. Ralph, first off, how you doing?
Great. The year is just flying by. We're getting that much closer to the draft.
Oh, boy. Ray, how are you doing? Happy New Year.
Good. Happy New Year. Yeah, guess we got to start mock draft talk now.
Well, we're going to get to that. I just have a few things, and we haven't been on the air. And Ralph, Ray, and myself, we just want to wish Damar Hamlin the best of luck. The Buffalo Bill, he's been all over the news, as everyone knows.
Is there any updates on him?
Well, the latest update I have was 10:37 a.m., which I'm sure most of the fans have heard, that Dr. Timothy Pritz said that his neurological conditions appear to be intact, which is really, really good news. So it looks like he's coming along. And he actually came to and he asked, I don't know if he wrote it, which it was a little ambiguous to me, like, who won the game? And the doctor said, you won the game of life, like that. So, but anyway, and the Bills, interestingly, to replace him, they signed a player named Jared Maiden, a cornerback off the New York Jets practice squad. And I guess he had played for Alabama. I never heard of him. I don't know if you ever heard of him, guys, but now he's a Buffalo Bill.
A couple being all pro.
Yeah. This is what I like to do in this show. I just want to give a little bit of an update. And then I'd like to read part of an article that Rich Cimini came out with about 3 hours ago, and I want your reaction. Yesterday, Mike White had a full practice. Wednesday. Thursday, Mike White had a limited practice. He's got sore ribs. It was bothering him. What else is new? Dwayne Brown, as we may and may not know, he's been playing the whole year with a torn rotator cuff. Whether he comes back next year, he's not sure. He doesn't know if he's going to have an operation. So with that, apparently our favorite, Mike Lafleur, met the media today, and I'm just going to read a little bit from an article that Rich Cimini put out about 2 o'clock Eastern time, and then I'll get some reaction. Just bear with me, Ralph and Ray and the Jet fans. When the New York Jets drafted quarterback Zach Wilson second overall in 2021, they handed him the starting job with no competition. In retrospect, that was a mistake, according to offensive coach Mike Lafleur. This is Mike Lafleur speaking in quotes. In hindsight, it probably would have benefited him just to sit back and learn a little bit and watch a veteran just kind of grow in this league. Kind of in the backseat watching, Lafleur said Thursday, get better in practice, get better through the scout team and all that, but that wasn't the course we went through. He goes on, and then he says, if you think back to the preseason, I think everyone wanted to crown him after the first preseason, right? I don't think any of us got too high or too low in the preseason, but he was playing pretty good through that. And then it's written by Cimini. Wilson completed 75% of his passes with 2 touchdowns and no interceptions, but he faced no starting defenses in that preseason. Still, the Jets were committed to him. And then Lafleur adds, we're going to have to look back and see, not necessarily red flags, but what indicators were there that said he wasn't ready, Lafleur said. Hindsight is 2020. Okay. The only other thing I'm going to read, this is going on too long, is that one other paragraph. This you guys will love. Lafleur, whose job appears to be in jeopardy, and I'll just add that Woody Johnson was at practice today, which he rarely goes to on a Thursday, whose job appears to be in jeopardy, said quarterbacks sometimes need to develop. He pointed to Green Bay Packers backup Jordan Love, coached by his older brother, Matt Lafleur, as an example of a quarterback benefiting from time on the bench. And in ending, I'll just add this. He said, there's a two-way street with it. This is Lafleur talking. The player has to meet us in the middle of it, but you want all these guys to play at their absolute best. We all know Zach hasn't played at his absolute best. He has shown spurts. He has shown the talent. Like Salah said yesterday, through hell or high water, we're going to work with him. I'd like to get your reaction, Ralph. First, I'd like your reaction. My feeling is I'm just going to say briefly, I think it's like 50-50 or less that he comes back next year. Ralph, your feeling?
Yeah, well, last podcast, I wouldn't have said that, but maybe. Yeah, I don't know if this is his mea culpa trying to keep his job or what. I know when we all talked about how much Zach Wilson should play or sit his rookie year. Ray, I know you were for at least a half a year. I was for a few games. I don't know about you, Marty. You were probably.
I was up in the air. Ray is the one I remember that he thought even like a full year, but we'll let Ray respond. But
and there was always the question about they had no veteran. They just had him and Mike White, which was kind of bizarre. And that's something, I mean, NFL has played rookies all the time. They throw them in, but to not have a veteran there, especially after Greg, now I know you don't want to hear this after Greg Knapp died and all that. It was, and Rob Calabrese has very little experience and has never really shown that he can do anything with quarterbacks. So, yeah, I think that this is a really fascinating thing. You know what interests me, Marty? Having lived up here in Boston for 40 years, but being around Belichick, who doesn't say a thing. He doesn't say anything positive, negative. He never admits a mistake. And here we have Salah, who said, I screwed up with the clock in the which was it, the Detroit game or and Lafleur doing this. I mean, is that a positive or a negative? Do you like having your coaching staff come out like that and admit to mistakes like that? Do you think that's a good thing or not?
I'm not sure. It's interesting you say that, Ralph, because I kind of call that, and Ray, we're going to get your response right after this, a Trumpism, where they won't admit they're wrong no matter what. I've never seen Bill Parcells admit he's wrong. I remember a game they lost, and either he lost count of the downs, something happened, and he was getting blitzed by the reporters, and he was getting adamant about he knew exactly what it was. So I'm not sure, to be honest with you, Ralph, if it's a positive or negative. The one thing I can tell you is I think the older generation is more reluctant to admit that they're wrong.
Definitely,
so,
yeah.
Ralph, hold on to additional thoughts as we're going to dissect this. Ray, let's have your reaction. Ray Clifford, who I remember distinctly wanted our quarterback, and even going back, I think he would have wanted Sam Darnold to stand on the sideline for a number of games with a clipboard. So, Ray, give us your reaction to this Matt LaFleur mea culpa.
Well, you're right. I mean, I do believe that in most cases, I mean, there are exceptions, and Peyton Manning, even though he didn't have a good first year, you could see he was different than a couple others. But I think in most cases that they should sit at least half a year. There are guys, you still hear guys say, no, get them on the field, throw them out there, let them get acclimated. Well, I think that's okay with some. I don't think it's okay with most. I think it especially was not okay in Zach's case. I think he really was hindered by the fact that they put him out there and with the fact that they did not have any veteran presence on there. So, yeah, I felt like at least half a year. Same with Sam. I felt like half a year would do these guys wonders. And you see all kinds of guys who sit, but they spend so much money on them. People think, well, we don't have time to sit them. Well, this is the result if you don't take the time to sit them, is what I feel. And I think I don't know if I don't know if he can be fixed. It's going to be a real project now compared to trying to mold him and teach him in the beginning. Aaron Rodgers sat
3 years. Yeah.
3 years.
One other factor that they should have considered also Now you look at a guy like Lamar Jackson, he stepped right in, but he was
Mhm.
on a strong team. They were
Mhm.
drafted him late in the round.
Yeah.
I think the Jets were obviously horrible. They had the second worst record and they were terrible. They should have probably lost all their games that year. That should have been a consideration too. I remember that first game against Carolina. He got bombed like the first like 2 or 3 times. That probably was traumatic to the guy. I remember this interview where he was asked at the end of the year by his BYU reporters what was the hardest hit he got, and he said it was in the Carolina game. So you can imagine your first game and you get really nailed. Who knows? But yeah, I think that that has a lot to do with it too. The fact that the Jets were just terrible.
Right. And as far as the other thing you'd mentioned on set, I don't mind them admitting when they're wrong. I don't want him being like a quarterback and putting everything on himself every time something happens. But I don't mind him saying, yeah, I like the clock management, I goofed that, or and I mean, I think they admitted they blew it with Zach and not bringing a quarterback when they brought in Flacco, almost halfway through the season. So, I think that stuff was all obvious, but I'd rather have him either admit it or say nothing. I don't want him, taking it all on his shoulders every time. But if he says nothing, I'm okay with that too. But
Yeah. And just so you know, going back in history, when he was a rookie, when he started, it was Zach Wilson, Mike White, and James Morgan. Now, they eventually added Josh Johnson, who arrived late in training camp, if you remember, and then in midseason they traded for Joe Flacco. So I just think the formula. Now, if you remember, and we spoke about it last week, remember I asked the question, was it also a mistake having a rookie head coach, a rookie offensive coordinator, rookie defensive coordinator all at once? And if you remember, back when in Salah's rookie year, Ray, I had mentioned that maybe he should have a veteran coach, and I mentioned that the old Cincinnati coach, what was his name?
Marvin Lewis.
Marvin Lewis. I thought he would have been a perfect guy to stand on the sidelines with him, or be up in the booth or wherever they are, training camp and practices, just to bounce things off him. Right now, the way it's set up, if you look, and Nathaniel Hackett's a perfect example, there's no more 5-year plans. So the coaches feel sometimes, I have to sink or swim. I really have to decide, how many years do I have? It's either going to be 2 or 3. And sometimes they roll the dice and they throw a rookie quarterback into the situation. Now, we also spoke about sitting down, and we had said, and Ralph, I want to ask you, go back in your memory banks, when Pat Mahomes was the quarterback, when they drafted him, he sat behind Alex Smith for 1 year. Yeah. Reed was the coach, right? He drafted.
Reed was the coach. The last game of the season was an unimportant game, and they had Mahomes play. I remember it was snowing. I think they were playing Cincinnati. But yes, other than that, and Mahomes said that he would have been lost if he had played. Tom Brady, said that if he had played his first year, he'd be a third-string quarterback for a last-place team. He said it was way too much for him. You could see the difference in Brady the second year in preseason. Suddenly you saw something. But yeah, there are very few. Some do it. Cam Newton came in and he had some good games. I think Kyler Murray had some pretty good games, although he's really regressed.
Yeah.
It can happen, but for the most part, it's difficult. Trevor Lawrence, it took him 1.5 years for it to kick in.
But Ralph, my point with Reed is he was a Super Bowl coach. He didn't win a Super Bowl when he took the Kansas City job. He had more time than a guy like Robert Saleh, Nathaniel Hackett, to really get a track record,
Right. Well, he had a good team already in place. They were a playoff team, I believe.
The year before.
Yeah. Which made it very interesting. That, well, they're going to get rid of Alex Smith. That just showed how much confidence he had in Mahomes. But yeah, sure, they definitely, with the security, made a big difference.
Ray, your feeling from the Samini article and the press conference about Mike Lafleur coming back, and I just got to add something else from this. I'm so sick and tired when they open their mouth of these Green Bay Packers, Matt Lafleur, analogies and stuff. I'm tired of it. I just can't stand this nepotism thing. It just rubs me the wrong way. I don't know what it is. Ray, do you think he's back now?
Well, yeah, I don't think Robert Saleh is going to get rid of him. I mean, like I said, I'd like to see him bring in somebody else, whether it be an assistant somehow or something, so that he can be on a short leash, or maybe have him step back and let somebody else take over and have him learn from him.
You think that would work? Do you think that would seem awkward to me? I wonder how that would play out.
Well, I don't think he's going to get rid of him, and I don't think we have time for him to learn on the job. This defense with our cap situation, I'm not sure how long this defense is going to be together intact like it is currently, and especially if you add guys to it who are going to be, if they aren't drafted, then they're going to be guys who are going to be probably needing a little bigger contract. So, and Quinnen Williams has to be paid. He has to stay on the team.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot let him get away, or we're gonna see a big step back from our defense. I think that was part of the problem when we that game he said I was at Detroit, and he just missed one game, right?
Who's this? Who are we talking about?
Well, Quinnen Williams.
Was it Jacksonville?
Jacksonville.
Jacksonville got the strip sack. So
Jacksonville was his first game back.
It was a Detroit game, yeah.
Detroit. And that we had no real good pressure. You saw the difference without him in there.
Yeah, there's no question.
Defense and our pass rush without blitzing. He just changes the entire game. We cannot let that guy get away in free agency.
Well, they won't.
Well, they won't. At worst, they'll franchise him.
Right.
But he's not going anywhere. Trust me.
I think that the defense as a whole, I think, Salah's system seems to work pretty well this year. And while we're not going to have the same personnel every year, no team does.
No.
I think with the system, I think I'm comfortable with the defense being solid. It's the offense, and
it's the offensive line first and foremost.
Absolutely.
If they don't take care of that, I don't care what else they do.
I don't care who the quarterback is. You can get anybody. It's
exactly. I just think that, and this has been a running theme for 8 years now. Fix the line. You bring in Sam Darnold, nothing. I mean, he had even worse than Zach. I mean, I can't even begin to say how bad Zach would look if he played behind that line that Sam played behind his first year. I mean, it just would have been scarier than it is now. I mean, he would have been destroyed so fast. I definitely would have said there's no fixing him. Which Sam is just starting to look like he's coming out of the fog of being behind our offensive line for 2 years or whatever, and he's starting to look like he's getting it a little bit. Not that I think I'd want him back, because I think we'd just regress again here. But all right, I think we're seeing a better Sam than we got to see.
Let's go back to the quarterback situation for next year, because I keep waffling with all these guys, and I'd like to try to pin it down to two. So I want to ask you both, Jimmy G or Derek Carr, who would you take? Ray, start with you.
I mean, I would take Carr because he's more he's not as injury prone. That would be my main thing. I mean, I like Garoppolo from the standpoint that he knows the system, but I don't trust that he'll be on the field, enough. So especially if he gets hurt late in the year and all of a sudden we're going to the playoffs with somebody off the bench, I have a little more faith that Derek Carr can be healthy. Right.
And Ralph, unfortunately, the guys that we like, Gardner Minshew, hasn't looked that good the last couple of games.
Yeah, means you can probably get him cheaper. But, the other day we talked about Minshew versus Mayfield. I guess the options are, one, you bring in a guy like Carr who has the job. or you bring in a guy like Minshew or Mayfield and say, you and Wilson, best man wins. I don't know which of those scenarios do you think is preferable?
You know, I don't know what it is. I don't see Zach Wilson playing next year. I'm not saying he won't be on the Jets, but I just think he's just not going to play a game next year. That's my feeling. I don't see how he's going to play a game. I don't know. Ray, do you think he's going to play next year on the Jets, or do you think he's going to be on the Jets next year? I don't think they're going to get rid of him, though.
No, I don't see him getting rid of him, but I think, tell me who they bring in, and just depending on their health, no, I don't see him getting on the field. But
well, it doesn't matter, health or no health, any quarterback, can go down. That's the thing. So, I mean, if Zach Wilson's their backup, I can see that. And he'll probably play because most backups play during the course of the year.
Right.
If they bring in a guy like Mayfield or Minshew, I think they would win the job. And who knows? Who knows with those guys?
Right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying, is that if barring injury, no, I don't think he sees the field other than maybe mop-up duty. But, my only hope would be is if it's going to be because of injury, that it's, halfway through the year so he can actually sit and learn for a while, not, have whoever we bring in get hurt in week 1 or 2 and here we go again,
Do you, with this injury that happened to the Buffalo Bill player, Hamlin, and the reports today from Mike White that his ribs were hurting and he was limited. The ribs protect the heart. And with everything going on right now and with some of the concussion protocols, whatever, do you still see that Mike White's going to start on Sunday, Ralph? Or could you think the Jets could change course?
I mean, we talked about it the other day, and I think we all agreed that we would start Wilson just to give him a
He's
shot
not,
in a meeting.
Ralph, he's not going to start. If it's not Mike White, it's not going to be Wilson. I think.
Yeah, you don't think so?
I think you're down to Flacco and Strevler. That's what I know, but I'm trying to read the tea leaves. I would start Zach Wilson. Now, They said he's going to be inactive. They could always change their mind. I just don't see it happening. Okay. That's my opinion. Ray, what's your thoughts?
Well, once you said that Mike White was taking the snaps, then yeah, I think Mike White's probably starting, and I wouldn't have a problem with him playing Wilson, but if they don't, that doesn't bother me. I'm not sure he'd learn a lot, but the only reason I thought, give him the start was because it's not in New York where he's going to be mercilessly booed the first time he short hops a pass or throws a pick or almost.
Why do you think he would do that?
I don't know. He's so consistent.
I think his real job should be infield practice for our baseball team.
Well, he should talk to Steve Sachs. Maybe he can tell how to get over the
Chuck Knobloch. I happen to think, and I don't dislike Mike White, and I would love him to become another Tom Brady, but he is getting the biggest pass this week because of his ribs. Everyone is saying like he wasn't 100%. Everyone, I can't stand all these excuses.
Did he look 100% to you?
I don't know. Well,
I thought his passes looked slow, like he wasn't getting a lot of mustard on the throws. And it's hard to say that maybe some of those passes were a little behind or high because he is feeling it. I'm not saying he was a pinpoint passer before he got injured either, so I can't say that that's 100% it. But I gave him a bit of a pass. He didn't look like the guy who played against the Bears or the Vikings.
Well, why don't you change quarterbacks then, Ray? You have the playoffs on the line. I don't understand why these NFL players don't change quarterbacks. Tomlin of the Steelers, he changed quarterbacks when they played us. I don't understand why they're so reluctant when things are on the line. They don't change. It drives me crazy.
Well, I don't remember where I read if it was the Athletic or what, but my understanding was that Trubisky got into it with somebody around halftime of that game, and that was what led to the change. Not that Mike Tomlin was looking for a spark. So I'm not sure that it's necessarily just hey, let's make a change, and that Mike Tomlin was being the quarterback guru at that point. But I don't know, but because I mean I see Strevler and he underthrows CJ Uzama so badly
Right.
that
But
it should have been an easy TD turned into
well,
did he catch the ball?
then I'll throw this at you. Then why are we judging him on one throw when we're just taking a few throws from Mike White in the first half? Why you know what I'm saying? How come we're judging Strevler just on one throw?
I wouldn't say it's just one throw. You can
Yeah.
see some of his out passes. He has a really bad arm for an NFL quarterback. Mike White, we've seen 5 or 6 games worth. So, but I don't give him a total pass either. I think you could see the limitations in his skill set. The other day, I know he's dying to play. He wants to show what he can do. You're right. He's probably going to start. I hope he doesn't get hurt. I don't know if I hope they win the game, because the difference between their pick, if they win and lose, could be as many as 8 or 10 slots. It's unbelievable.
I don't care anymore, Ralph, about you really care about that? Do you think it?
Because then I can go to bed. I can go to bed earlier at the draft.
No, I just don't think, unless you're picking like in the top 6 or something, and even then, I don't think it makes that much of a difference anymore.
No, you're probably right. It doesn't to a degree. I mean,
of course
it does, I mean, like if they had the 12th pick, they never would have gotten Garrett Wilson if they didn't have the 10th pick. So it can make a difference.
Okay. Yeah.
You don't know.
All right. Anyway. All right. So we're going to close this out. I want to know if you guys have any other thoughts.
Did you get my email, Marty?
I'm out of a phone, Ralph.
Oh, okay. Well,
go ahead.
I sent a few things I wanted.
Go ahead. You take charge.
One of them is keep them or cut them. I'm going to name 2 players. It has nothing to do with their salary or the years that were committed to them. It's just you got to decide which one you want to keep and which one you want to cut for next year. Okay, we'll start with Ray. Dwayne Brown versus Rankins.
I think I would keep Rankins because I want us to draft or sign a free agent lineman that is an upgrade across the board. So
yeah, Marty?
Keep Rankins.
I agree. I think Rankins. I think Dwayne Brown. He's been gutsy. We all know that he deserves a medal and everything. But at 37, next year he'll be 38. The injuries are just going to start coming fast and furious. So I Rankins. He's had a better year. He didn't look really good against Seattle, but I think he's a good locker room guy. And I think this year he's played a lot better than he did last year. So I would keep Rankins.
Yeah, I would agree.
Besides, Becton will be back.
That's right. Yeah. Next one. Who do you keep? Who do you cut? Lawson and Corey Davis.
Oh, are you kidding? Get rid of Corey Davis. I would not even close. Now, I just want to add something, which I had heard that Lawson apparently likes playing for the Jets, and somebody gave an opinion that he might be willing to restructure. He doesn't want to pick up his family and move again. So that's a little inside information.
Okay,
so I say,
good, because I want Lawson too. Okay, next one for you, Ray. McGovern versus CJ Mosley.
Wait, I want to hear Ray about Lawson and
okay.
I was in total agreement with Marty on that one. Now I like Davis, but he just has too many key drops. But
he also gets injured.
I think
too much.
I think Lawson coming off that Achilles was a little slow to get going at the beginning of the year, but lately, from about the halfway point on, he seemed to be turning it up.
He's doing better. Yeah.
Okay, McGovern and CJ Mosley. Who do you keep? Who do you cut?
Well, I hate to say this, but I keep McGovern because I want to upgrade at linebacker, and McGovern could be depth. So could Mosley, but at what we're paying him, that's a pretty expensive depth. So
I agree. I think even though CJ Mosley made the Pro Bowl, I think he's kind of overrated, though I'm in a minority about that. I'm not a huge McGovern fan. Goes to the Ralph Schrager theory that he can't even move anyone to get a yard. But if he got a better play, like maybe from his right guard, if it was Elijah Vera Tucker, if he comes back and they move him back to right guard, you might see a different McGovern. And I thought he was okay. So I would keep
Yeah.
McGovern over Mosley.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the more offensive linemen who can play a bit, the better. Okay, next one. Barrios versus Mims. Who do you keep? Who do you cut?
Oof. By the way, you know, there's another receiver, I think, from Oklahoma named Mims. I don't know if you know about that. He's really good.
Uh-huh.
He's
All
only
right.
We have our fill of Mims. We don't need.
yeah. I'll go first. You know, I don't like either of them, but if I had a choice, I would keep Mims. I've had it with Barrios. His only attribute right now is that he catches everything, and I'm sure there are other guys that will do that.
Not everything.
Well, I would
You
keep,
catch the biggest one of the year.
yeah, I would keep Mims, but I don't like either of them. That's my opinion. Ray?
Ray?
I'm keeping Mims only because I think I want to see Elijah Moore get full on time out there. I'm I think Barrios is taken away from Moore, and I think if Moore is more integrated in the offense, he's more dangerous and more in tune with everything.
Yeah, I'm keeping Mims too. I just think the upside is worth it.
Ralph.
Yeah.
You've been saying that for so long. I don't think there's any more upside with Mims. I just don't. I don't see
You might
it
be
anymore.
right. You might be right, Marty.
I look, I have a big imagination. I thought Mims had a chance when he coming out, looking now at the league, to be another Justin Jefferson. I really did. I thought he had that much ability. Watching him in college, watching him make some of these contested catches, acrobatic catches, and I don't know what happened to him, this guy. I really don't, but
it's what happens to a lot of guys who are drafted. You just you can never tell until they actually play.
Yeah. Okay.
All right, here's one of my Conklin and Uzama. Which one do you keep? Which one do you cut? Ray?
Well, I guess I'd have to go with Uzama only because
keeping
cut because Conklin seems to be the one they like to throw to. Uzama's made a few nice catches, but it doesn't seem like we really use him. I mean, he's a good team guy and everything, and I like him, but from productivity standpoint, he hasn't had nearly the year that Conklin's had. I like Conklin. He's limited, but he makes plays. I'd like to see Ruckert get up in there next year.
I think we all would.
They've got to play him next year. They drafted him pretty high.
Yeah. I would, believe it or not, it might surprise. I keep Uzama, and I'll tell you why. Going back, if you remember the first few games, he dropped passes he should have had. I think he's a better receiver, talent-wise, than Uzama. But one thing I liked about Uzama, the last game when they were losing, getting killed, he was playing hard to the very end of the game, not giving up, and I like that in the player. So I would keep
like
Uzama
a lot.
Yeah,
I mean, there's nothing about him really not to like, but
right.
I don't know if they don't feel he's as good a receiver, but
he's just athletically. I think he's limited. The other guy's a much better athlete than he is. The thing I like about Conklin, which nobody's talked about, is there were several times when after the catch, he would just keep pushing and doing his John Mackey thing, and that impressed me. I didn't expect that of him. I like that, so I'd keep him. All right, here's one of my favorite ones. Michael Carter or Michael Carter? Which one do you cut? Which one do you keep?
They're not going to cut either of them. Go ahead, Ray.
Right, yeah.
Well, you can never have enough DBs, so I'm cutting.
You never have enough Michael Carter.
I'm cutting Michael Carter.
The running back.
Yeah.
He had a very disappointing year. Now, again, we don't know if his ankle injury was 100% healed, but no doubt about it. He had a down year, sophomore slump. Michael Carter II, let's face it, he made the best play of the year that was called back on his interception return that Ralph loves. But I got to
get to that in a minute.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, I'm admitting it, full disclosure. I think I overrate Bam Knight. I think this guy could become a great player. I really do.
Well, I think that's the key factor in which Carter you keep is that Bam Knight is suddenly.
If you watch closely on some of his yardage gains of like between over 4 or 5 yards, goes through the sliver smallest hole. It's amazing to me, and I really love this guy.
Yeah, I do too, and that's probably the main reason I would keep the defense of Michael Carter. Okay, here we go. Now, this is just your opinion, not what you think the Jets are going to do. Keep or cut? Who are you going to keep or who are you going to cut? Mike White or Zach Wilson? Ray.
Oh, if I had my choice.
It's up to you, Ray. You're Joe Douglas.
Well, and it's always with me, it's always about, well, what tell me who comes in as quarterback. I mean, if I have to just straight up keep one, I'm probably keeping Zach because I think he's got a ton of upside if they ever figure him out.
Marty?
I think so too. I'm just, it's funny. I don't like the guy. I can't stand watching him play. I can't stand his demeanor.
Painful watching him play.
I can't stand his demeanor on the field and off the field.
One thing I'll say about him, his demeanor's not as bad as Mac Jones. I watched him up here. He's the worst.
You saw that video. I couldn't agree with Boomer more.
Right. And I can't stand his whole situation, which last year with the mother twittering and the whole thing like that. but paranoid that he's going to leave the Jets and turn out to be
New England.
Dan Marino. Yeah. So I would keep it with the upside. And I like Mike White, but I think all Jets fans that they always overrate, they always say the most popular guy is a second backup quarterback. With Mike White, it's just, I think it's overblown. And now watch, he goes out against Miami, throws 5 TDs.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm with you guys. As painfully as there must be, it's like, yes, I guess we have to keep Zach Wilson. All right. Anyway, I got one more thing here, Marty, and a trivia question. The question simply is, which was the most painful, frustrating game this year? And there are 4 choices. The first Patriot game, the JFM game, the second Patriot game, the Marcus Jones game. And by the way, I'm going to give Marty kudos because Marty really wanted Marcus Jones in the draft last year. Yeah. And he has been dynamite for the Patriots. I don't know whether the Jets would have occurred to them to play him on offense, but anyway, so it's those 2 games, the Braxton Berrios Minnesota game or the Detroit CJ Mosley game.
Ray, you want to start?
Plays. Those 4 plays.
Yeah. I'm just the first Patriot game that just I think snowballed everything for me. It just had so many bad memories. Because as bad as the second Patriot game was, I felt like we dominated that first one, and that one play just everything changed. And you could almost feel it as a Jet fan.
Oh my God! Yeah,
it turned into we went in at halftime, and it was like, I can see where this is going. And sure enough, that's how it played out.
Let me tell you how I feel, and I don't want to get too deep, but I think it's a close, almost a tie with the first Patriot game and the Minnesota game. And the thing is, with the Patriot game, it's so emotional when you play the Patriots. That's why. But I might pick the Minnesota game, the Barrios drop. The only reason being, even if we were ahead 17-3, there's no guarantee we would have won that game. Now, there's no guarantee we would have won the Minnesota game. I think there would have been about 1:29 left, too. But there was less time. I think the guarantee was a little bit closer. So I'm going to say the Barrios drop.
Well, I understand. Yeah, it's tough. That was a brutal game. I'm going to go with the JFM game because while you're right, Marty, 17-3 is no guarantee. You look at those 2 games, the Patriots played the Jets. The Patriots got 1 touchdown on their offense in both of those games total. I think the Jets had their number defensively, and that moment, just exactly what Ray said. The game is over. We're gonna.
Well,
it was incredible. It was so
You-
obvious. It was so jet-like. It was just.
You know what it was like, and we spoke about this last podcast with the Jets or any sports team, mostly New York teams, though. You see certain symbols that you just the air is going to take it out. When we got that Queen and Williams fumble,
Yeah.
and we had to settle for a field goal, we all knew that game is lost. It just knocked the air out of us. And that JFM, that penalty. Oh my God.
I don't know what the was the
And-
Iron Eagle, what he said was, but it was the words he put it, he said the most unbelievable. It was like, this is unbelievably bad. I can't, I wish I remember exactly what he said, but words couldn't express how.
Now, just not to be revisionist, but I mean, I thought it was a fair call. 90% of Jet fans I hear on the radio, they said it wasn't a good call. And then you compare it to some of the other calls, and I see the point they have.
Yeah.
I happen to think they're going to have to do like a limited instant challenge on roughing the passer, where they have to limit it to like only 30 seconds. I hate to do it,
Yeah,
but
really.
you're going to have to. It's so inconsistent. So, Ray, what's your feel? Do you think that was a legitimate call to JFM?
At the time, even watching it, I said, yeah, that's a fair call. Not because he hit him that hard. I think it was more how far he went before he hit him.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think it wasn't how hard he hit, even though in the post-game press conference, Salah said he asked the ref, and the ref said he hit him too hard. But I think I don't think that, I don't believe that. I think it was how far he went before hitting him, when he really had plenty of time to pull up. And he could have, or even if he made it look like he was pulling up and bumped him, I don't think they would have thrown it. But
yeah, go do this.
Yeah, old hands in the air. I'm not hitting him on purpose.
I saw Queen and Williams do that early in the year when he went on top of the quarterback and he put his hands up, they could save him.
And it
But
worked.
Something we never spoke about, which I was shocked. I forgot which game it was. You guys probably remember when Garrett Wilson got hit out of bounds.
Yeah.
It was obvious. Do you know in that play he was fined like $13,000? Garrett Wilson was fined
For arguing.
I think it was, whatever it was, but he got fined. It's unbelievable. I can't believe it. All right.
You can't say anything bad.
I got a quick trivia question
go ahead, Ralph.
for you. Based on our opponent this week, the Miami Dolphins. We all know what was the last year the Jets won a playoff game?
It was
New England.
New England.
2010. It was 2010.
Patriots.
When's the last year that the Miami Dolphins won a playoff game?
Really? I have no idea. Ray, do you know? That's a good question.
No, I don't. It was under Marino, though, right?
The year was 2000.
Wow.
It was under Marino.
Marino had retired in 1999. You know who the quarterback was for the Miami Dolphins? I'll give you a hint. He had a cup of coffee with the Jets.
Jay Fiedler.
That's right.
Incredible.
Can you imagine that? Marino retires. I mean, he was struggling.
Well, but what Ralph, what year was it when Chad Pennington was on the Dolphins? And he was
That was after
it was like 09 or 08. That was Brett Favre's year.
That was Brett Favre's
08.
And the Dolphins did not make the playoffs that year?
They made the playoffs, but they didn't win a playoff game.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I don't know if they made the play. Yeah, but they didn't win a playoff game.
Yeah, last game of the season against the Jets was for the playoffs.
So as a Jet fan, I guess we can't feel too bad about that.
Yeah. Ralph, you should try to think. A good trivia question is, since Andrew Luck, name all the quarterbacks on the Indianapolis Colts.
Kobe Brissett.
The list is just unbelievable.
Yeah. By the way, in the year 2000, the year Miami won the playoffs, that was the year of the Meadowland Miracle on the Meadowlands. The Jets beat them both times that year, but
that's right. Yeah,
no cigar.
All right. Well, we wrap up another season this Sunday. Anything else, guys, before we wrap this up? All right. For
no more heartbreaking losses. Please.
Okay. For Ray Clifford,
killed for once.
Yeah, Ray Clifford, Ralph Sharega, and Marty Schupak. And again, we're hoping for the best for DeMar Hamlin from the from the Buffalo Bills. So until next time for Jets Rewind, and check out our website, jetsrewind.com. Until next time.